Let's bring back our all-star panel. Mark Morial, Carlos Gutierrez, Bill George, and Steve Leisman is still here with us. Mr. George, let me just ask you, as we look at this unfolding drama disaster in the Gulf, how you think BP has handled it, and whether you think Tony, if you were on the board of BP, you're on the board of Exxon, if you were on the board of BP, what would you be counseling him to do, or would you be urging him to resign?
Well, I think it's less about resignation. I think he's got to get the leak filled, and that's where the focus has got to be, and do everything they can to clean it up. He did own responsibility initially, and I think they've just got to put everything they can and call upon the entire industry to help him. I know Exxon, Shell, and others are helping him, but it is a disaster and is a tragedy, and frankly, things could get a lot worse before they get better.
There is a sense,
and so we've got a lot to deal with. There
is a sense that they weren't completely transparent at the beginning. There's a loss of confidence in what they've been telling the government and the public.
You remember that Jim Burke, when he had the Tylenol disaster, was on TV every night. I think Tony Hayward needs to get out in front of the public and talk. We haven't heard from him for weeks.
Unless he keeps shooting himself in the foot and only makes it worse for the company, because unfortunately he said some things that then the press jumped all over.
Yes, that's true. And so he's got to be very careful, and that's
Carlos,
easy to do.
What do you think? Has the business been responsible, and how would you grade the government response? And then I'm going to turn to Mark with the same question.
Yeah, look, I think that we have a president who's a strategic thinker, and what the country would like to see, I believe, is strategy. It doesn't help if we just continue to hear that BP is accountable. We know BP is accountable. That just creates pressure into the system. How are we organizing resources? Why don't we bring in the whole industry and say, come on, oil industry, work together, fix the problem? But that's, the president has to lay out a vision and then get out of the way. All of a sudden, it's like we expect, or there's an expectation that the president is in charge of the problem.
But so much of this is merely about optics. The fact is the BP guys and other oil experts are the ones that are going to fix this, and we're so upset that the president goes to a concert. We're so much arguing more about the image. I do think there's a long-term draining of American spirit when we see that oil continue to flood out of that hole. It really kind of makes you feel bad.
And Mark Morial, you being from New Orleans, Louisiana, I think it's got to be.
And I'd like to see more of the discussion be about the people who are impacted. Talk about small business owners, fishermen, oystermen, small businesses that service the oil and gas industry. We need to be talking about what is required to help them get through this rough patch, because their businesses have been affected, their confidence has been affected, and there needs to be more discussion about that.
Second devastating blow to that region in 5 years.
In 5 years, and I think that is where we need leadership of the government, leadership of the industry to respond to that. And I'll just say this in candor. I think that from a communication standpoint, neither the government nor BP handled this well, particularly at the beginning. One of the things about a crisis is you've got to have a sense of the crisis before the crisis escalates. And I think in this case, there may have been some feeling that it was going to be short-term.
I want to ask this question to Mark and then to Bill George, the same question. We had a discussion an hour ago about whether BP should continue to pay $10 billion in dividends to shareholders in light of what has gone on in the Gulf. Should they? Should they not?
I think that BP's #1 objective should and must be to fix the leak. It should be to compensate to the extent that's correct those that have been affected. I think the decision on dividends should be secondary to that.
Bill George, what do you think?
I think he's right on the money. We got to focus on the people and BP and particularly the government.
You're on the board of BP. Hold on. You're on the board of BP. Are you going to? No, I'm saying, let's pretend.
If
you were on the board
I'm not on the board of BP, but no.
If you're on the board of BP, do you pay your investors while you see fishermen losing their jobs, while you see so many people suffering, even if you have the capital and the balance sheet? Does the investor deserve that money?
I think those are two very separate decisions, and I think BP has adequate amounts of cash right now.
No.
I think the real issue is,
if you are at the bottom of the capital structure, doesn't the owner get paid last?
Well, that's a very good point. I certainly wouldn't be increasing
Here's
it. I'm not sure. I'm not on the side of suspending it. I think that, but I do think they should be really doing something for the people. I think that's where the great harm has come.
All right, thank you guys very, very much. Secretary Gutierrez, Bill George, always great to see you. Mark, a very